Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Rob Richards. You're joining me back here at Mission Fitness Center, a really great gym in Alhambra, California, for part of my Beast training series. The focus of today's video is all about biceps. 5 of my top 5 bicep conditioning exercises where we'll be looking at variations of barbell, dumbbell, preacher, cable, and concentration curls. And hey, as always, you can check out the full article at beastsports.com, see all of the images, sets, reps, and full description of all of the exercises on today's video. Okay, with that being said, let's kick things off with the first of our 5 bicep conditioning exercises. Right, so the first of our 5 bicep conditioning exercises are based around the barbell. Now, you've probably heard that barbell curls are the king of bicep exercises, and they are. Let's face it, it's the most amount of weight that you can lift, maximizing the involvement of the biceps. If we look at the positioning of the arms, wrist, elbow, shoulder, all in alignment, arms slightly rotated outwards. As we curl up, it's the full width of that bicep being involved. You'll see throughout the further exercises, as we start to change different angles and hand positions, it starts to lessen the involvement of the bicep. So that's more conditioning, and this is perhaps more mass building. So if building mass is your goal, stick with heavy weights within that 8 to 10 rep range of barbell curls. So standard version, arms, hands, shoulder width apart. Now we start to change this up by taking the hands wider apart, keeping the arms in pretty much the same position, slightly rotated out. This will, to a degree, affect more the inner region of the bicep. Just the same as when we take the elbows out and bring the hands in, it's a little bit more on this outer region of the bicep. Not a lot, but enough to make a difference if all you're doing is the standard barbell curls. So try a couple like this, and then try taking the hands out and hands in. You'll also notice that at one point I bring my elbows in front of my body. Usually when our arms are at the side, we're involving the long head of the bicep. It's all about the attachment, the insertion of the muscle, and how it comes through and forms into that muscle belly. By bringing our elbows into the front of our body, we're focusing a little bit more on the short head. Short head is this muscle, long head is this muscle. Again, something else that you're going to see a lot of in these following exercises. The final version that we do is a pronated overhand grip, and you'll see here I'm working still the biceps, but now involving this area a lot more, the brachialis, a muscle that sits just under the main bicep head and really makes up part of the forearm. But forearm training is key to having good arms as well. So if you are doing a lot of bicep work, make sure at some point you switch to some overhand grip work and focus on these pronated curls as well. Typically 3 to 4 sets of these king exercises, the main mass builders, and I'll throw in some variations as well. You don't have to do all of the variations all of the time, but at least once a week, switch up the wide to the narrow, to the overhand, to the elbows in front. All right, let's keep things moving and have a look at exercise number 2. Let's take a look at the standard version of dumbbell curl. Now, I mentioned as well with the barbell, arms are at the side of the body, and that's what we're doing here with dumbbells. We're keeping the upper arm fixed at the side of the body, shoulders back, allow that bicep to work in its entirety, its full range of motion. With dumbbells, you see I start with my hands fully externally rotated out. This is a great warm-up exercise as well as involving the forearms. We simply can't externally or internally rotate our arms with a barbell because they're fixed. Dumbbells we can, so make use of that and add it into your variation. We've got our seated dumbbell curl, tons of variations here. Really squeezing the bicep at the top of the movement, whether you perform both arms together, which is fine, or you want to isolate them and perform each arm independent of the other to really focus on each muscle. Couple of variations here. Hammer curls. Now this one, hammer, as if we're hammering something down, we keep the hand in this semi-supinated grip, so palms facing each other. This I find really good for detailing. So once you've done the heavy work, barbell, dumbbells, add in some hammer curls, either seated, trying to bring the top of your hand all the way up towards your shoulder and all the way back down. You can also see here, if I add a rotation in, you can see what it does to that short head of the bicep. So by keeping the arm and the hand in that fixed position, or by adding a rotation in, you see that squeeze? That's what we want to be focusing on midpoint towards the end of the workout after having done all of the heavier mass building type movements first. And by taking the bench back and keeping our back flush against there with our shoulders pulled back, our arms are now slightly hanging down. That means we have to work extra harder against gravity to curl that weight up instead of allowing any momentum. So you might need to drop the weight on this one, but it's a really great effective exercise for conditioning, I find, whether you add a rotation in or keep the hand in that fixed position. So as I've mentioned, many of these dumbbell exercises can be performed on the bench in a seated or a slight incline position, as well as standing. And you'll see this with my hammer curl as well. This allows us to do a cross body hammer curl, bringing our arm rotating at the shoulder in front, really working that bicep from a different angle across the body as opposed to at the side. It's a subtle difference, but it is a difference and it's worth implementing into your routine. Dumbbells, I typically go a little bit higher, lighter weight, higher volume than barbell work. So aim for 10, 12, even 15 repetitions there. That's our barbell work done. That's our dumbbell. Now let's move on and have a look at what we can do on the preacher bench. Okay, then exercise number 3, and this one is all about the preacher curl, specifically isolation. Now, what I mean by that is we're supporting the arm, the back of the arm against the preacher pad, therefore we're isolating just the bicep. It's the bicep that is having to do all of the work now to lift that weight, as opposed to with the barbell or dumbbells where we typically have some momentum and other muscle groups assisting with that lift. Reason I like this is it's a really focused exercise for the bicep and the peak in particular, getting that nice shape to the bicep, which is really just the shape of your bicep. Some people have full length biceps that go all the way here, therefore they appear to be much bigger and blockier. Other people, like myself, have a shorter insertion. It's a great bicep peak, but they can look a little not as big when viewed on the front. So take that into consideration when you're trying to develop your dream physique. Have a look at how your body is structured and work to within your best strengths of that. We're using the standard straight bar here because I feel that gives me the best feeling on my biceps. But as you've seen, I can also use the easy bar. It puts a lot less stress on the wrists by allowing me to angle my elbow slightly outwards or inwards, and the same with my hands. So make use of the easy bar, change up your grip, use the outer wide with the elbows inwards, and also that inner grip with the elbows shifted outwards. Little less stress on the wrist, and also you feel a different region of the bicep being worked. I want to make this point clear. The bicep, the muscle itself, is being worked completely no matter what variation that you use. My point though is, by stressing it using the most standard version of that exercise, you've already reached your threshold of that muscle performing that work. So these other variations, outwards, inwards, cross-body hammer curls, all of these different exercises are really just pushing the envelope as far as conditioning and training that muscle even further. So remember that. Another variation here, that pronated, the overhand grip. Don't forget that when you're training biceps, forearms are involved, but how often do you really dedicate a movement to forearms? Maybe a few exercises at the end of a circuit here and there, but if you're doing barbell curls or dumbbell curls, make sure that after every main working set, you at least follow up with 1 or 2, maybe lighter sets of that pronated overhand grip to affect a little bit more of the forearm and also to work the bicep in a different manner. Listen, not everybody has access to a preacher bench in their gym. And if you don't, that's okay. Arm curl machines can be just as effective as can using an incline bench sat to an almost near incline. Position your arm over and voila, you have a preacher bench. Oh yeah, one more thing. If there is a standing preacher bench, typically we perform like this. But look at this. It's often a sharper drop off. And if you can stand and perform like that, these are sometimes called Scott curls after the great Larry Scott. It's a steeper drop off. A lot more work has to be done because you don't have that much of a sloping angle. So this can be a really great and effective bicep exercise to finish off, get that burnout or a drop set, and really shock the biceps more than you might do from just having done your barbell and dumbbell curls. All right, that's barbell, dumbbell, and preacher curls. Let's move things along, have a look at a few variations on cables. I love using cables in practically all of my workouts, and I always make a point of including a cable-based movement in every workout. And here's why. Cables, unlike free weights and even machines, provide a consistent amount of tension on the muscle throughout the full range of motion. Let me explain. When you lift a weight, let's say a barbell, you start to curl that weight up, you get to a sticking point when the weight is at the furthest point away from the fulcrum, which is your elbow here. So easy, harder, 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 at its hardest, getting easier, easier. And at this point, you can almost rest the weight on the structure of the forearm. So it's less intense here as it is there. That means as you start to fatigue and reach muscle failure, your reps are going to be less effective because you're struggling at that midway point. That's not the case with cables. The tension here and here is the same. So that allows you to really focus on that peak contraction at the end of the repetition and not become more fatigued throughout each rep as you lose focus and effort at that sticking point. Starting with one of my favorite bicep exercises here, a high cable curl. This is a movement that I feel we can't really replicate using free weights. Positions the arm across and away from the body as opposed to at the side or in front. So it opens the arm out, allows us to externally rotate, and as we curl up, we get that really great contraction in the bicep. Now, whether you perform this both arms together and you need to have enough distance between the cable pulleys or one arm at a time, make sure you have enough distance between you and the pulley to allow for a full stretch. Again, with cables, we want that full length of the bicep. We want to maximize. We really want to be focused on that full range of motion, working the bicep in its entirety. Two versions of this one. A supinated grip, so our palm facing upwards. Also that pronated grip. Now this is a movement I really don't see many people do, and it's a great exercise, especially at the end of doing a few of those high cable curls. Moving down to the lower cable pulley here now, I'm using the rope. Again, this goes back to trying to do exercises and variations that I wouldn't normally do or can replicate on free weights. So make sure that every movement is as varied and as different as you can. You don't want to simply do barbell curls and then mimic that same movement just by using cables and some other weights. Change it up, change the angles, and change how that muscle is involved. The second version of this, I step in, elbows are now practically pushed into my torso there, and I'm pulling out in that outward rotation. Two very different movements, from elbows out to elbows in and hands out. So give these a try. Typically I perform cable-based exercises after my free weights or machines, and cables, a little bit more intensity, higher volume. These are great for supersetting, especially as we can quickly lighten the load and keep that intensity high on the muscle. All right, those are 4 of our 5 exercises. Let's take a look at our 5th and final exercise in today's video. For this one, it's all about the concentration curl. So here we are with our 5th and final exercise of today's video, the concentration curl. And you know what? This one is a bit of a forgotten gem. An exercise that I don't see many people performing now. They stick with the typical barbell, dumbbell work, cables, machines. The concentration curl is really still a key bicep exercise. And here's why. Not only does it really isolate and lock in the bicep, it changes the angle that we typically work the bicep. Look, if you look at all of the exercises that we've done in today's video, talking about the arms at the side of the body, positioned at the front, supported on a bench, even with the cables positioned out. Rarely do we have that arm externally rotated and work the bicep, perhaps with the exception of that rope cable exercise. But using the dumbbell allows us to manage the maximum amount of weight and put the maximum stress through that bicep with the arm externally rotated. So here's how we do it. We lock the back of the arm against the knee, the inside of our knee. So first of all, we're in a sat tripod position. Hips back, torso length forwards, and the back of our arm locked in against that knee. Now, it's also externally rotated out. It's not tucked in, curling like this. I'm rotating my arm outwards, keeping it fixed at a right angle to the floor. And now all I'm doing is focusing on contracting, flexing the elbow, and extending. Now, there's a few variations when it comes to concentration curls. One, as you've seen, is in a seated position with that elbow externally rotated out and locked in against the inside of the thigh. Another variation is to perform standing. Tilted forwards at the torso, allow the arm to hang completely vertical to the floor. We're still externally rotating, and there's a difference. Look, this is my normal anatomical position when I'm tilted at the side. But if I curl up, I'm still curling slightly outwards. So what I need to do is rotate outwards. It's a small difference, but it makes a big impact on how the exercise is performed. Rotate the arm out. Now we're essentially curling that weight up towards our opposite shoulder, getting that full contraction, squeezing that bicep as hard as you can with the weight, and then slowly allowing that weight to come back down, fully lengthening the bicep, and repeat. Another version of this is to perform it with the cable in a bent or seated position. Now the cable gives us that smooth, constant tension on the muscle, as opposed to with free weights where we can reach a bit of a snag at that sticking point. So my two picks today from B Sports are these: glutamine and ripped black, BCAAs. Glutamine is one of the most abundant amino acids in the body and often the first to get depleted through heavy weight training. So supplementing this 5-10 grams a day, adding it into your protein shake, 5 grams pre-workout as well to top up the amino acids. And this ripped black comes in great flavors. This one is iced coffee. You can mix it into the glutamine or have it separately. BCAAs is typically something that I would have intra during my workout. So halfway through my workout, 10 to 15 grams, or you can add it in with either a protein or your glutamine at the end of the workout. So you can check out both of these and many more at bsports.com. And until next time, keep training hard, stay motivated, and I'll see you back here in the gym real soon. Take care.